if you get a Williams in, if you get someone else in, a Leao, I mean, will be very expensive, but that gives you a lift in the dressing room. I mean, Gnabry, fantastic career. Coman, fantastic career. He will always be a legend at Bayern, scoring that winner in the Champions League final. But they don't excite me. They don't excite you. They don't excite the Bayern fans anymore. So you need someone in.
Hi and welcome to the Fussball channel. The boys are back, Dad. It's been a long time, but we had a little breather. I got married, as you do, a little honeymoon. You've done your projects, but now we're back, reinvigorated, to talk German football. There's plenty to do, plenty to talk about throughout the football calendar, but it's good to be back, Dad.
It's good to be back, and as you can see behind me, or you can see at least, because you spent a lot of time in this house, this is the house of your grandparents that I have now in my ownership, because they've moved to an apartment. So I'm here. Yes, I've done my project. On Saturday, we had a athletic school. Yes, I do that as well for all ages. Your grandma, my mom, was running also 60-meter hurdles, and we had a Gusk in the race. I know that you would have been a part of that if you've been here. My nephew Peter, he kind of represented the family with a second place. Okay. He was very, very tired. Stefan Moltu winning the male group.
Yeah, but he's fit. But he's fit as a fiddle, though.
And he's a fit fiddle.
And Norwegian Cup champion, is he not?
He's Norwegian Cup champion. Played for HUD when they were back in the days. And I've spent my time. Yes, Marcus, you left the podcast as a boy and come back as a man after getting married in Italy with a ring on your finger. And I've been watching different football games. I went live to a live football game. 20 kilometers from here where I'm sat now. I saw two of my former clubs, HUD Lillestrøm, who played 2-2. In charge of Lillestrøm now is the dad of Martin Ødegaard, Hans Erik Ødegaard. Very furious about the referee, and I do understand, because there was a penalty given in the first half that was very, very soft. But I think for my former clubs, for me, it was good. It was 2-2, and it was great to be back in the stadium when you go back and meet people that. Well, one was my coach when I was 17. I mean, that is 40 years ago. So you meet those kind of people. So, but good to be back now. Marcus talking about international football. And yes, we follow the progress, by Bayern, to be fair. And Bayern now at the Club World Cup. So there's a lot of things to talk about again.
Yeah, let's go into the Club World Cup. That's my claim to fame. You've obviously played against the likes of a Bayern. You've played against Inter in the European Cups and whatnot. Where I compete with you is I played against the mighty Auckland. I will take Auckland's defense because they are in the New Zealand League, and then now there's an Auckland in the A-League in Australia. So I think a few other players left from there, but nonetheless, it was a 10-0 defeat. I don't think there's point analyzing the game. I mean, that there is that quality and difference, significant as such. But I want to start that with the Club World Cup, because it is contentious due to the political context, due to the financial context, due to the governance structure as such. Very open-ended, but how do you see it? And has it changed following the first couple of days? And how do you think it will develop as well?
Well, first of all, we've seen the Football World Cup with the national teams. I remember back in the days, was it 10-1? There was in one tournament, I can't remember who won it, but it was Hungary losing, I think, 10-1 or something. Or did they win? Sorry for all our Hungarian listeners. But my point is that you can have those terrible results as well. But I saw a ranking. Auckland is like on the 5,000 best team in the world, and Mansfield. Well, I don't have to go there all the way because this was a weak team. And yes, Marcus, you played against them. We know a bit about them. Norway's going to play New Zealand soon, so your expertise will be asked for, Marcus, when we're going to talk about the team for that area of the world. I think it's interesting, and I think it's right for you, Marcus, when we discuss the Club World Cup, because you have to see it in a bigger context. Yes, there are health reasons. Why shouldn't the players have a rest? Since COVID, they've been playing a lot of games, a lot of these players. You can also say this is a power battle between FIFA and the international federation like UEFA to kind of use the players. But I think basically the idea of a Club World Cup, take that away, Marcus. I know people would say you can't take that away because that is so much a part of it. I think the idea that the best teams in the world have a World Cup is fine. I think the idea is fine, fair enough. And then the concept can be discussed because there is an Inter Miami. Nobody knows how they got there. There were teams because the qualification route for the different nations were a bit funny, quote, quote. So that's interesting. But I think basically I have no problem with a Club World Cup. I see teams like Manchester City, Real Madrid. I can tell you, if they win the Club World Cup, they would say they won the biggest prize this season, and they didn't win the domestic league or the Champions League, of course. But I see a lot of teams going there, taking it very seriously. I made an article in a Norwegian paper, VG, and I said that they have squad of 30 people, 30 players. They can rotate, they can give them rest. Of course, I know then the contra argument will be, yeah, is that the future we want? That the best team should have 30 players? So I think that we have to put it in a bigger context. I think that is too tabloid to say yes or no to the Club World Cup. That got to be, I mean, my opinion at least is based on the overall situation of the battle of the footballers. Yes, the likes of Erling Haaland, the likes of the Bayern players, the likes of all of them playing a lot of national games, Champions Leagues, domestic leagues, and so on. It's tough. I see that. But the main problem in football now, when you take it the whole way, Marcus, the players at Brentford don't play too many games. I mean, they play the league, they play some league games, and some of them national players, using them as an example. And yes, the health issue is important, but I think we will be all right.
Yeah, the thing is the fixture congestion, the player overload, the burnout that'll come. It is an issue. It is, and it is one in which we might see the result of. We've already seen results of, because I think you've seen the quality of certain games, finals, when you come to the end of the games, could be discussed, and then you're diluting the very product that you're trying to commercialize. You might also see in the long term, how long does the career of a Jude Bellingham, who was in the top 10 rankings for most minutes played this season, when will he retire? Will he feel a burnout at 32 as opposed to 36, 37? Will he play even as long as someone like Ronaldo? So that's the long term. And it is an obvious problem. Here's my problem with the narrative around the World Cup, or the Club World Cup, is that they say teams don't care and players don't care and fans don't care. Yesterday there were 80,000 fans at Atletico Madrid PSG. Yes, they have significantly decreased the ticket prices, but that's the nature, I think, of running a cup or a new format for the very first time in terms of bringing that prestige about. But there is huge reputational prestige and there is huge financial prestige, as the thumbs up goes on my screen here, for these teams. Dortmund came out and said, and Dortmund will maybe have an outside chance, but they said, of course there's prestige for us being the very first winner of this tournament. Everyone remembers Uruguay winning the first World Cup. We would love to be the same. And then we can't neglect, within such a competitive financial or football landscape, how significant the prize money is. And yes, that's a problem in terms of creating a bigger gap, but there is 110 million euros on the line for the winner. These teams, these executives, they want to do well, and that's the way they can continue funding it. And then we can talk about the downward spiral that might create. But rid us of this not important for players and clubs, because trust me, it is. And that will be my ending remark as such.
Yeah, but I sometimes get criticized because I say sometimes the things are lazy punditry, and lazy punditry for me is when you just take the obvious opinion. Because every issue that we discuss, the good thing about football in a world where there's a lot of bad things going on. Now, the good thing about football, there is, first of all, there is no 100% conclusion. It's an environment that is a platform for opinions and all those kind of things. But I think that we should take it a bit serious that, yes, the Champions League was extended with 2 games. Okay. That made it a bit harder for the players as well. That was UEFA. That was nothing to do with FIFA. My point is that there is a reason why the Europeans don't have a big say in the big global kind of matter, because we can talk about Auckland, we can laugh about Auckland, we can probably laugh at some teams losing high in the Club World Cup, but that happens in the normal World Cup as well. The lower nations. I think that every region should have the chance to be on the international stage. For the Auckland to represent their continent, to be at the Club World Cup, well, forget they're losing 10-0, but still that is a chance to shine. And us and we Europeans should be aware that we are seen with another kind of perspective in terms of how we develop our football. We have a great tournament called Champions League. We have great leagues called the domestic league, if that La Liga or Serie A or Premier League, Bundesliga, and so on. But I think that I will always, everything I say now will have the health issue, the burnout that the point that you make will be over me. But still, in an ideal world, to create a Club World Cup, I don't think that is a bad idea. And then we can use all our ammunition talking about power battle in football, Infantino, Donald Trump, USA having this kind of mini World Cup before the big World Cup next season. I see all those kind of points. I'm just saying that I think that the ground idea of a Club World Cup is not that bad, and but it's no problem with devil's advocate in terms of the health issue. But I think that we'll see. We saw a good game now between PSG and Atletico Madrid, and I think we will see a lot of good games coming later.
So back to the sporting, that do you think Bayern can win it? And given the situation Bayern are in, why would it be important for them to win it?
I think that Bayern can win it because I know, and that's not just a cliche, but I know that Vincent Kompany and the Germans will be well prepared. There's a tournament nation. We've seen that from old. Maybe the last tournaments they haven't been as so much, but I think they have said from day one that they take this seriously. Based on your point, saying nobody cares, they have cared about this Club World Cup. They have a good team there. They've had a good start, of course. They're going to be harder. This is a tournament that is made for yes, they won the Bundesliga, but they would love to have more. It's also good for them to have the money. They could get over 100 million euro to win it. They have already earned 100 million not buying Flora Wirtz. I mean, 150 million that was, by the way. So then we are 250. It's a funny way to calculate it. But I think that Bayern take it seriously. They will absolutely be some of the favorites. But I think that a company, a Luis Enrique, like you were saying, Dortmund and Manchester City, Real Madrid, Alonso's first kind of chance with his team straight into a Club World Cup. That can kind of save, like I said, save their season, the ones who didn't win the Champions League. And that was every team except PSG. So, yes, Bayern can absolutely win it. And it will also make them even more attractive, selling the story about being the best club team in the world.
And being one of the best club teams in the world, they will want to attract the very best players in the world. The likes of a Nico Williams, a Rafael Leao, a Bradley Barcola from PSG, all are candidates now. How would you describe the current environment now at Bayern, and how critical is this window for Bayern, but also for Eberl?
It's interesting to see that. I mean, a lot of our information is based on colleagues of ours who are very good, great connections. Being Plettenberg, being the rest of the Sky team, of course, our good friend Christian Walk, Toby Alscheffer. And so sometimes, if we only base our analysis of Bayern, they so far have a terrible transfer window because they more or less told us that Florian Wirtz was ready to come there, which never happened. They more or less said to us, and I'm saying this in a positive way because I know they were informed about that, and they were informed by Bayern. So my point is that Bayern, through our reports, through our friends in Germany, Marcus, they said that Leroy Sané, yeah, we'll find a way, and so on and so on. And now he's suddenly Galatasaray. So then it's interesting that you said these are the candidates of Bayern, because our German friends have always got this list of players they want. I mean, if that was a marriage, if I had a list of all the girls in the world, I mean, sometimes it's a wish list more than how realistic that is. So sometimes, and I've talked so many times with Christian Falk about that, because when they say, yes, he's on the list, but it's so easy to be on the list. And the reason I started with these good colleagues of ours, because they're doing a fantastic job, but sometimes you can get that feeling that they are ready to come there straight away, which is not, because they need to have a list of a lot of different people. If we take the reports from Germany now, Nico Williams, the Spaniards, is a great candidate, as you were saying. He could fit in there. Now Leroy Sané is going. He went on a free, Marcus. That is not good business. That is terrible business. They bought him from Manchester City. They sell him on a free. Okay, they lose Thomas Müller, so they kind of a space for his wages that I can use. That could be good business. I think Bayern did the right thing, although everybody loves Thomas Müller, but I think that was the right thing to do. But if you see the team now, they get Tar for free, which is a great deal when you think of them had to pay 25 to 30 million last season. So that is a great deal for them, and so on. But I think they need one or two great players, because I think that is the expectation of Bayern. It's been built up that they're going to improve their squad, their first team, the starting 11 to compete with the best in Europe.
No, absolutely. The way I see it, they definitely need a star winger. Sané hit double digits in the Bundesliga last season. That's why I don't think it's not even a case of if you got a Nico Williams, you have to replace that output that Sané had. And you look at Nico Williams' output from last season, it doesn't rival or doesn't blow your mind as such in terms of being that Sané replacement or that Sané improvement. And then I think you need a backup for Harry Kane as well. And Bayern being Bayern, wanting to compete, not of course in the Bundesliga to win that, but winning the Champions League, I think you need someone else behind him.
I think, Marcus, if I just may say, I think that is the right way to see it. For me, we've talked about this before. When you go into a new season, it's quite simple math. What do you take away? Okay, this is what you take away. You take away Thomas Müller. You take away a great character, a leader, scoring so and so many goals, so and so many assists. Same with Leroy Sané, but maybe a Nico. If you get a Williams in, if you get someone else in, a Leao, I mean, will be very expensive. But that gives you a lift in the dressing room. I mean, Gnabry, a fantastic career. Coman, fantastic career. He will always be a legend at Bayern, scoring that winner in the Champions League final. But they don't excite me. They don't excite you. They don't excite the Bayern fans anymore. So you need someone in. And you just need a lift. It's the same with your Arsenal. If you go into a new season, you can't get in a new striker. I mean, you have to get someone in to give you a lift. Does that mean that guy or the Šesko or the Gyökeres, will they score 20 plus? We don't know, but you have to give the team a lift. And I think that's where Bayern is now. So when Williams, we remember him from the Euros. We remember him for playing fantastic for Spain. That will give the whole camp a lift. And I think that's where we are at the moment, because now they have a leader at the back. Manuel Neuer is there. Übrig is a good replacement. Going into midfield, yes, Goretzka will still play on, although they won't offer him a new contract. And Kimmich can play right back, and so on and so on. And as you were saying, but the replacement for Harry Kane won't be the big thing. I think the big thing for Bayern is to get one or two players in that excite the people, that excite the camp, that excite the Bundesliga, that excite the football Germany.
No, I agree. And you mentioned there the departure of Thomas Müller, the Club World Cup being his last farewell with Bayern. If you were Thomas Müller's advisor, Dad, I'm sure we would love that, but Thomas Müller has a very smart head on his shoulders. What do you think would be his best move next? Is it a matter of retiring or continuing that journey? And I'm sure part of that consideration would be for what would follow after his retirement.
Well, it's a tough decision. I was in that decision myself. I was 34, I think, when I left Eintracht Frankfurt, or just getting into 34. Was I ready when we moved back in the days? You were a young kid, 7 years of age. We moved back. Should I then retire, or should I go back and play a bit in Norway? I played in Norway. It was not an instant success because I came from the Bundesliga, and the next day I played for the same people that were on the parking lot at Eintracht when we played. And I'm not saying that's to be critical or anything. That was just a fact. That was the fact that that's what I signed up for, and I kind of lost a bit of my motivation. And the reason I used that for Thomas Müller is that Thomas Müller, in terms of quality, is top notch. You can see, well, Auckland you can't compare, but he's still there. He is one of the characters you want to see. If I was Thomas Müller, I would definitely play in USA. But I'm just saying that's my head on Thomas Müller. I will have a look at my body. I will know that I'm there. They have a relation to, is it Los Angeles? They have Los Angeles
LAFC.
LAFC.
Who are playing in today in the Club World Cup as well.
Exactly, as we're recording this on a Monday night. And I will go there, and I will try to build up my relation to Bayern. And they have this thing. We don't know if he's going to be a good CEO. Unfortunately, a lot of these former players, they don't think they have to work after their career, but they can still do a job that everybody else is working very hard. So let's see where Thomas Müller is in that kind of perspective. But I would have played on for a couple of years. Yes, I can see that thing that people will say, let's remember him as he is, and sort of. But if he enjoys his football, play on, because if he plays 2 years in USA, maybe not with a great success, but he's there, people will say he's still playing, it's a bit sad. No, well, how sad is that? In a couple of 3 years, he moves back to Munich. He has won XY titles. He will always be remembered for that anyway. And I remember when Otto Rehhagel was an old man. Otto Rehhagel winning with Kaiserslautern, Werder Bremen, won the Euros with Greece, and he took Hertha Berlin, and that was never a success. And I remember I was sitting in the studio and I was saying, boys and girls, in 10 years' time, when we have a quiz where Otto Rehhagel was, nobody would, that's where they will fail. They will forget that he was in Berlin, because you will remember him for his grace, as you will with Thomas Müller.
Yeah, I don't think either move will have any bearing on his legacy. I mean, if he were to win an MLS Cup, then that would remain neutral. Like you say, if he had a poor spell, that would have no bearing on his legacy. Yes, it would have been a perfect goodbye, so to speak, with the Bundesliga and kind of going into the horizon with Bayern. But I think someone like Thomas Müller, one of Bayern's biggest legends, who will inevitably have a very important role to play at Bayern Munich for the rest of his life, either as an ambassador or something more concrete like an executive. Go to America, yes, for the enjoyment, but there's no better place for sports business than in America. And Bayern, being one of the pioneers when it came to football clubs going over to the American market, fan clubs in every state, offices in New York, have done tremendously well in the American market as well. Enjoy it for what it's worth, both on the field and off. And I think that is our parting words for today's episode as well. We will aim to discuss the Bundesliga teams' performances, that being Bayern and Dortmund, in their Club World Cup. Dortmund take on Botafogo, I believe, as well, under Dortmund coming in as one of the most informed teams of all the teams as well. So that'll be exciting to follow. But that without further ado, I think that concludes our comeback for the 25-26 season.
It does. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.